Hello everyone, welcome to another tutorial. My name is William. In this tutorial I would like us to look at Laravel queues. Laravel queues help us to process resource intensive tasks. For example, processing large CSV files, sending emails in the background, and at this instance preventing a lag on our application and also giving the user a good user experience while interacting with the application, such that whatever it is that they are doing as they are processing maybe a CSV file, they will get feedback that the CSV has been processed successfully, but in reality it will still be in the background being processed slowly until it's completed. Probably they can get information as to when that process is over. Now we have several queue drivers, and we have Amazon SQS, we have Redis, we have Beanstalk, and then we have database, which is what we are going to use. And also you can also be able to set the driver to null. And when you set the driver to null, then all the queued jobs that you send to the worker, they will be discarded, all of them. Now, I would like us to go ahead and see how we can be able to implement this. And in this case, we are going to send emails, several emails maybe to the users that are in our database. And then as we send these emails, we can be able to also queue them and be able to do it like that. So let us go ahead and see what we can be able to do regarding this. So the first thing I would like to do, I want to make some few changes on my env. This is a fresh installation of Laravel 10. So everything that you see here, if you have Laravel 10, you'll be able to follow this tutorial video perfectly without any disparity. The first thing I would like to do, in our env file, I would like to change the queue connection. Queue connection, I would like to change it to database. Currently it is set to sync, so I will just write database. And then I'm also going to create the database that we are going to use. So in this case, I want us to create a database called queues. On top of that, there's one more thing that we need to do on the env, and that is setting up our mail server. In this case, we are going to use Mailtrap. So I would like to just set it up, and I will go to Google Chrome and be able to just set it up there and be able to copy the keys and come and paste them in our env. So let us go to Mailtrap, and here I would just like to probably, if you have not created an account, you can sign up. And if you have an account, you can be able to log in. The email that I would like to use, I'm not sure if I have an account or not. So let me just click on sign in and maybe just use Google account. After that, as you can see, I'm signed in. And then here, I would like to click on email testing, whereby we are going to have an inbox. And when we look at the inbox, we have a gear icon here on a place that we have actions. Action here, so we have settings. And inside the settings, once we open that, I can be able to just scroll. You can see under integrations, we have curl in this drop down as the one that is set by default by this application, but you can be able to change it to Laravel 7+. So under PHP, we have Laravel 7+, and that is what we are going to choose. So if you're working on your Gmail account, or maybe, on your Mailtrap account, you can be able to get your credentials. So you can see we are getting the mailer, mail host, mail port, username and password, and encryption. And then so we will copy this, and we are going to paste in our env file up until where we have encryption. So here we have the settings for the mail, and we have SMTP, mailer, mail host, port, username, password, and encryption. So I'm going to replace everything up until encryption with whatever it is that I've copied from the other side. So I'll just paste, and that is good enough. The next thing I would like us to do is to also go and create a job. But before we do that, I would like us to be able to go to routes, because I do not want to create a controller for this. I just want it to be as lean as possible. But this code that we are working on here, you can be able to move it into a controller, because it's not advisable to have such kind of logic on web.php. But then in this case, we're just going to have it there. So I'm just going to have route get, and here we have newsletters. So probably we will be sending newsletters to users. Let us just have it like that. And then inside this route, we are going to have a variable called data. And inside this variable, you have an array of values. And the first thing I would like us to have is subject. So this is going to be the subject of our email. So in this case, maybe I can say this month's newsletter. This month newsletter. And then I will also go ahead and have the body, maybe the body. And inside the body, let me have something like just one sentence. I can say, I would like to greet you all. And maybe blah, blah, blah. You can add every other thing that you want. Probably this is the month's newsletter and all that. So some sort of data there or information. And then the next thing that we are going to do is that we will go ahead now. You can see we have an error. It's because we have not closed this with a semicolon. We can go ahead and create a job. So in this case, I want to just open terminal. So I open terminal, new terminal, and I'm going to create a job, and we are going to type the command php artisan make job, and in this case the name of our job. So in this case, I'm just going to call it send emails. That is the name of the job that we are going to create. So when I press enter, as you can see, there is a folder that has been created that is called jobs in our app directory, and then we have jobs, and we have one file called send emails. So I would like to import send emails above here. So I'm going to say use app jobs, and then we are calling it send emails. I believe I've typed it correctly. After that, then we are going to dispatch this job, and then we will go and do some processing further ahead on the other file. So for us to be able to dispatch a job with this data, we can be able to just say send emails dispatch, send emails dispatch, and then we are passing in our data, which is what we have created here. And this we'll be able to send our job to process it in our send emails job. And I would like to go to send emails job and be able to also do some few processing, or maybe addition of some code there. And the first thing that we are going to do, because we are passing in data, the first thing that I would like us to do is to just have a variable here which we are going to call protected data. So protected data, like that, because that is exactly what we are sending, and we can be able to pass it in the constructor as data. And then after that, I would like us to reference it like this. So we are going to say this data is equals to the variable that we have passed in, data, like that. So afterwards we can just be able to reference it as this data whenever we will be using it. So this is what the code that you put in the constructor, and then after that we can be able to do a little bit more processing in the handle method, whereby now we are going to send our emails. And I want us to send emails to users. As you know, because we are dealing with a new Laravel application, we do not have users in our database. So I would just like us to, maybe after putting some code here, we will go ahead and create. I want us to get all users. And in this case, we can just say user all, like that. That you fetch us all the users, and then I want us to loop through the users as we send the emails to them. So for each we are going to use for each loop users as user, and then inside here we are going to process and be able to send the emails. Before I do that, I would like to create the users, and we will also be able to create our database. So first of all, let me ensure that we are running our Apache and MySQL for us to be able to have the database connection. So I will click start on Apache and start on MySQL on my XAMPP, and then I will go to factories. So database, not factories, I will go to seeders, and then the database seeder, because we already have the user factory, and because there is a factory here which creates for us a user. Let me just show you. So as you can see, you create a user using this data here, and we can be able to call this factory in our database seeder. And as you can see, there is an example to that. So I'm just going to remove the comment on this line here. Let us create maybe 5 users, like that. So we are going to create 5 users in the database. Already, as you remember, we had set a table in our env that was called queues. So I would just like us to sort of run the migration. But even though you remember that we have not been able to create the table in our database, in other words, in PHP MyAdmin, but it is not really necessary for us. I sometimes become lazy to the extent that I want Laravel to assist me on some things, because it can be able to assist us to do that. So I'm going to run the command php artisan migrate, and as you can see, to tell us that the table does not exist and ask us if we want to create it. So I will just type y for yes, and then you can see it has been created, and we have the 4 default tables that are usually there. On top of these tables, I want to add one more table, which is called jobs. So I'm going to run the command php artisan q full colon table, and this one is going to create for us a migration that is called jobs. And then after that, I want us to run php artisan migrate again, and when I do that, also the jobs table is going to be migrated. So if we go to check our database, we have, let me just open it here. If we go to check our database, we have localhost php myadmin. If we go to check our database, you are going to find that now we have 5 tables, and there is one table that is called jobs that has been created recently. So in our database, we are calling it queues, and it has been created, yes. And now we have several tables. We have failed jobs and we have jobs. This is the one that we have created right now. And then we have migrations. And we have password reset tokens, person access tokens, and users. So a total of 5 tables plus 1, which of course is the migrations. Now I would like to just create our users, because we have been able to uncomment this first line in our database seeder. For us to be able to create 5 users, to be assisted by the factory to create 5 users, I'm going to just run the command php artisan db seed to seed our 5 users in the database. So if we go back and probably refresh here, we can be able to see that in our users table we have 5 rows that have been created for us, and that is good enough because now we have 5 users. So I would like to go back to the send emails job, and we'll be able to continue and finish and type in the code. But even before we do that, because we will be sending the emails, I would like us also to go ahead and create a mailable class. So in this case, the one that will assist us to send the email, and also, if possible, we can also be able to create the markdown for that mailable. So let us go ahead and do that. We are going to run a command here also for that. And I want us to run the command php artisan make mail, and then we are going to put the name of our mailable class. So let me call it new newsletter mail, like that, newsletter mail. And then we are going to tag and also create markdown, in this case sort of like templates, which will be able to contain our email, sort of like format our email in a nice way. So hyphen markdown, and then we are going to say where we are going to have this markdown stored, and we are going to type emails. That is a folder that is going to be created. So in our resources folder, we are going to have another, in our resources views, we are going to have another folder called emails. And then inside the emails, I want us to create a class called newsletter, something of that sort, newsletter. And then you press enter. As you can see, it says created successfully. So 2 things have been created, and I want to show you. As you can see, we also have a new folder called mail, and inside mail we have newsletter mail.php. And then when we go to resources views, we have a folder called emails, and inside that we have newsletter.blade.php. When we open it, it looks something like this. So let us go ahead and be able to continue now with what we were doing inside jobs, because I wanted to use that mailable class. So in our job called send emails, I would like to now go ahead and send the email. So in this case, we can say mail, or in other words, queue the emails, mail to, and in this case, it's not necessary for you to put the email of the user. You can just say user. You pick the user email directly and then send. And then after that, we are going to say new, and then we will look at the name of our mailable class. It is called newsletter mail. So in this case, I'm going to type here newsletter mail, like that. And then we are going to pass, in this newsletter mail, we are going to pass the data that we are sending. So in this case, I will say this data. Remember the referencing that we did above there, this data. Then we are also going to pass in our user, like that. And I think that is all that we are going to do here. So let me just maybe extend a bit such that you're able to see. So this is what we are going to have. In our handle method, we will get all the users and then loop through the users using the for each loop. So for each users as a user, then we are going to send a mail to newsletter mail, and then we are passing in this data, and then we are passing in the user. I believe everything is good up to here, but we need to import the user model. I believe I have. If I have not, we need to import that one. We also need to import the mail facade, and we also need to import the mailable, the newsletter mailable. Then once we do that, we will be good with regard to this specific file. So let us go ahead and import everything that we need to import. The first thing we are going to have use illuminate, support, facades, and then mail. That's the first thing. The next thing we are going to have the user model. So I'm going to say use app models user. User has to be capital user such that doesn't give us an error. And one more thing, we are also supposed to import also the mailable class. So we're going to say use app mail, and in this case it was called what, newsletter something, newsletter. You may try to type it because it is somewhere, newsletter mail, like that. I hope I have done the correct thing. So let me just click on this and see if, yes, I believe that one is okay. So we have been able to finish everything that we're supposed to do on this send emails job. And then after that, now I would like to go ahead and do some little work on the mailable class, and then we will go to our markdown and then finish there. So let us open newsletter mail. And once we open newsletter mail, remember there was data that we were passing, and so that is the first thing that we need to work on. So in this case, I'm just going to pass in a similar way in the constructor. So I'm going to say public data such that it is publicly accessible on the other side, and then we are going to pass data. And then on top of that, I'm going to reference it as follows. This data is equivalent to the data variable that we are passing, like that. And then we will go ahead now in our subject. In the subject, of course, what we have here is a new envelope and so on and so forth. But what I would like to pass here, in this case, we have newsletter mail. But for me, I would like to read from whatever it is that we passed in. So in this case, I'm going to just say this data. So inside the data, we have a subject. You remember, we created it somewhere. So this data, and then I want to check for the subject. I believe we have something called subject in our data, and I think that will be okay. After that, inside the content here, we are going to pass whatever it is, any other data that we want to go to this emails newsletter markdown. So to do that, we are just going to say with, like that, after the comma, and then we can put a full colon, and then inside here we can have an array of things that we want to send to our markdown. And the only thing I would like to send here is body, and in this case the body is also referenced in a similar manner. So this data, and then we are going to get body. So this will allow us to reference it as body in our markdown that we are going to work on in a short while. Now, since there are no attachments that are going with this email, there's nothing that we're going to do under attachments. I would like to go to our markdown. So resources, emails, resources, views, emails, newsletter.bled. And I would like to do one thing here, or maybe two things. So the first thing that I would like us to do is to probably in this email I know most of the things that I'm doing here maybe might not be very standard, but my attention is only to show you how to be able to do the queue. And once you're able to do that, I think my objectives will be fully achieved. So inside here, where we have introduction here, I would like to replace my subject. So here I'm going to just say again data subject, like that. And then because it is a variable in the bled or the bled views, we are supposed to have it with the parenthesis, and inside here where we have the body, so I want to change this, and I'm also going to replace with something similar. I'm going to say data, and then body, like that. And I think that will be it. If you have a URL, you can be able to put it here, and so on and so forth. But in this case, we can say thank you config app name. So maybe we can even go to env and change the name of our application to something else. Currently the name is Laravel, so maybe I can change this into queues, like that. So after that, everything is almost done. So I would like us to attempt and see what is going to happen. So my application is not running, so let me go ahead and run it in a terminal. So I will open terminal, new terminal, and I'm going to open also another terminal such that I have several. In fact, we have another one also. So here I'm going to run the command php artisan serve, and this will be able to run our development server. Some small modification I would like to do on web.php. I would like to return, after we dispatch send emails, I would like to return a message to our user. So we can just say return emails or newsletter sent, something of that sort. And then I think that will be good. So sort of like some nice messaging. After we have been able to send the emails, we can be able to receive some information that actually our emails have been sent. So the next thing I would like us to do is just to run our application. So localhost /8000. As you can see, our Laravel application is running, and I would like to visit newsletter. I believe that is how I have it in my newsletter, like that. It says not found because it seems I have typed it wrongly maybe. Let me see the route. Newsletters, okay, with an S. Fine, that is okay. So newsletters with an S. And as you can see, it says newsletter sent. In reality, there is really nothing that has, okay, something has happened, because when we go to jobs, if I open localhost in the database that we are working on, I click on jobs, As you can see, we have one job that has been listed and the attempts are 0. So in this case, there's nothing that has been sent. But here under payload, it has a payload of everything that we are supposed to send. If you take time and maybe copy whatever is that is here and check, you will find some emails being sent to 5 users, because that is the number of users that we're having in our database. And then on top of that, for us now to be able to send the emails, we will now be able to run the worker, the queue worker. So in this case, I would like to open another instance of the terminal, and I'm going to run the command php tsun queue work, like that. Now you can see it saying running, and we have not been able to receive any information. So I would like to check Mailtrap if there's anything that is happening here. And you can see in our inbox, actually there are emails that are that have been sent here. There are emails that have been sent. In fact, it showed before. Let me see. So messages, there are 5 of them. Where? Yes, demo inbox. When we click on it, you can see we have 5 emails being sent to this email. And this one is sort of like a staging application. So all the emails are sent here. But these emails, of course, because we created them using Faker, they are fictitious emails. They don't exist. So even if I'm to run this newsletter again, because now our queue worker is already running, again, we expect to see more emails being sent here in a short while, like that. So I believe this tutorial has been successful. I would like to ask that if you like this video, you may comment, you may subscribe, and you can also share this video with others such that they may also be assisted. Thank you very much for following this tutorial video up until this point, and thank you very much for your support.